Ladies and gentlemen, coming soon, a podcast you've all been waiting for. The movie podcast to end all movie podcasts. A podcast that discusses and critiques the best of the best and the worst of the worst movies playing at a theater near you. With a host whose opinions have been deemed as fact by your favorite fact checkers. And that's a fact. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the movie maestro, the tyrant of theater, the gumshoe of review, the man that makes theater employees and Hollywood execs shiver by his mere presence. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge, the jury, the sultan of cinema, Justin Henson. Welcome to the Movie Wire.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. We have a completely loaded theatrical show this week with 4 brand new reviews, with all 4 now playing in theaters. This week on the show, in this early review, shaking hands with an embalmed hand with evil writing on it turns out not to be a good idea. In the new movie from A24, Talk to Me, which releases on July 28th. 4 friends, 1 trip, no luck in the new road trip comedy, Joyride. Discover the hero just beneath the surface in the new animated film, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. And finally, it ends where it all begins in the 5th installment to the Insidious franchise. In Insidious, The Red Door. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows, what? A roar and a bursting of flame. The Movie Wire podcast. You need people like me. The Wire.
And here we go.
In this early review, a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand. They become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and unleashes a terrifying supernatural force. In the early review of Talk to Me, which releases July 28th.
No, please. It's my mom's Remembrance Day. I just want to forget about it.
Who's up?
I'll do it.
You busy tonight? You want to turn, eh?
My mum leaves at 9.
So you're 10.
So where'd you get it from anyway?
Apparently it was the hand of someone who could connect with the dead.
I heard it was the hand of a Satanist. The other hand's just out there.
White people shit, man, I tell you.
All right, let's do this! You know the
Cannot
drill.
go for more than 90 seconds. Am I clear?
What happens after 90 seconds?
Don't want to stay.
Say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
Haley, fucking stop it, he's choking!
83 seconds, get it off him.
Light the candle to open the door. Blow it out to close it.
What if we opened the door but we didn't shut it?
Put your hand on it.
Spirits. They followed us.
We have to do something. You want to do it again?
Now say, talk to me.
Talk to me. Stop.
What was it?
What? I don't know!
I let you in. I let you in.
What did the hand feel like?
It felt amazing. I could see and feel everything on the other side. So my mom, she was trying to reach out. I'm here. Still been seeing stuff.
You mean saying stuff?
What if we opened the door but we didn't shut it?
Oh my God.
They like you. Talk to me.
Here's a new film from Australia that A24 bought the distribution rights to release in the United States. That brings us two new directors, brothers Danny and Michael Philippou, and new writers Bill Hintzman, Daley Pearson, and a writing credit from Danny Philippou as well. Talk to Me is one of the biggest surprises of the year so far. It checks all the boxes when it comes to how horror movies go. It's been a while since I've had a good time in a horror movie during its viewing. Talk to Me is a horror movie that actually respects the viewer, to, dare I say, actually builds suspense. It actually allows us to get to know the characters before it just decides to open up the gates of hell of terror upon us. And each character is so unique with their own conflicts and background, the way each one interacts with each other keeps our interest during the first acts. We do have quite a bit of characters, and I have to say that I am impressed with the writing team here, with the amount of characters and the amount of individuality to each of the characters. For being new writers, it would have been so easy to rush or cut corners on the dialogue to get to the main focal point of terror. But you can tell our writers have an understanding of basic fundamental storytelling, especially when it comes to horror. This team understands that the scary elements are to build on top of our characters and on top of our plot, not the other way around. It allows for the audience to stay on our toes during the time of getting to know the characters, but at the same time, throwing the viewer hints of what's to come. It ensures we are getting mentally ready for what's about to occur, but we just don't know when. It adds a level of engagement and care for our characters on screen. Talk to Me stars Sophie Wilde as Mia, who has a distant relationship with her father after her mother accidentally dies from an overdose of sleeping pills. Mia spends most of her time with her best friend Jade, played by Alexandra Jensen, along with Jade's mother Sue, played by Miranda Otto, and the brother Riley, played by Joe Bird. Now, Mia is an interesting character that the story really follows in depth, from her reasoning why she doesn't want to be at home with her father, and spends most of her time escaping with Jade's family. It's like she's attempting to find temporary escape from dealing with her loss of her mom, along with avoiding her own father, in which Mia calls too sad to be around him. Even though the relationship with Jade, Mia, and the family gives a satisfactory chemistry during the runtime, but by the end of the movie, it shows we could have used more screen time building the relationship of this family to really make this come full circle on the emotional haunting feeling the film was really shooting for. This was the main element missing from telling or turning a simplistic ghost story into a full-length movie that would have attacked our fears and emotions at the same time. But as you view it and during the runtime, the chemistry is there between the characters. It isn't until the climax we get that feeling that we could have used a little more. Now, where the film's biggest strength is that we have a real strategic tone and a feel that gradually changes, and it isn't in-your-face noticeable. It doesn't use the hard editing. It doesn't artificially give us the effect of chaotic horror. There's no real loud booms. There's no loud sudden sounds to give the audience jump scares. The Philippou brothers use practical storytelling to really build upon these situations, and the writers use our characters' inner demons against not only the character development, but to justify the tension to the viewer. For example, our character such as Mia has an inner conflict that she refuses to address, but using friends' parties to attempt to escape, this embalmed hand comes into play that gets her truly to escape her own body and the world. It's just like the beginning of substance abuse to an extent, finding that one object or thing to escape our inner demons or grief, even for a short amount of time. I did love that inner theme, but what I truly loved about this, eventually our characters start to not only feel their inner demon surface, but they also literally feel actual demon surface through their body. They are forced to face these demons, and just like most emotions, there is never a good time to truly be ready to face your own demons. Mia is a prime example of using an object or situation to escape her demons. Mia uses this hand as an adrenaline rush to escape the real world, because Mia feels this is better than facing her own demons. But that's until Mia sees her inner demon mixed with the actual demon. This gives us a clever push and twist of the motivation of the plot. The writers here are very strategic and clever by using their characters to help drive the story, which is a refreshing change to the horror concept that just uses their characters as props till the next kill scene. It's better than her own demons until Mia sees her inner demon mixed with an actual demon. That gives us a clever push and twist of the motivation of the plot. The writers here are very strategic and clever by using their characters to help drive this story, which is a refreshing change to what we see over and over again to the horror genre that just uses their characters as props till the next kill scene. Talk to Me delivers a message that will keep those looking for elevated horror satisfied, but horror fans satisfied as well. mainly because it isn't treated as a horror movie, but rather a simplistic ghost story that is extremely effective and utilizes practical techniques to really create a proper tone, along with really unsettling moments that made me feel I was sitting around a campfire hearing a traditional ghost story. It never reaches for cheap scares or cheap shots. It knows the story is better than that. The Philippou brothers do an outstanding job with keeping the tradition of telling us a basic ghost story with interesting characters without a shock factor, but rather build of curiosity and tension to give us something truly memorable. I'm giving Talk to Me 3 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews on previous episodes for a movie that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now. Now available, Worlds Collide in the new addition to the DC Universe in The Flash, which was a fun, fast ride receiving 3 stars. It's time to face the music one more time with Feeling in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which never gave me a feeling, receiving only 2 stars. And that didn't take long in theaters is The Blackening, which received 2.5 stars. To be a hero, it takes a lot of gut in The Machine, which was a ridiculous but at times a very fun romp, receiving 2.5 stars. And finally, Not All Races Can Be Won in Fast 10, which barely missed the race, receiving 2.5 stars. You can check out those reviews on my previous episodes, and just a reminder, if you haven't yet, make sure you hit follow or subscribe, and don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. Now, as you have heard on my show here in the Seattle area, we just had open enrollment in our Snohomish Film Festival. Submission is now officially closed. And I just want to say thank you to those that submitted. There's been a ton of talent submit their projects, and I have to say what an incredible amount of talent we have had this year submit their films. I have watched every one of the films, and I have to say this is going to be a fantastic year at the Snohomish Film Festival. Now, even though submission is closed, please still visit the Snohomish Film Festival website at www.filmfreeway.com/Snohomish Film Festival. There you can find more information on the festival and to buy tickets for September 9th from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Don't wait to the last minute. I will see you there. Now, given the next review is full of censor beats, it only seems right to promote this fantastic podcast in this episode. It is a podcast that I swear by to give me that mental break from work. And that's J&K over the Fuck My Work Life podcast. These two amazing people have a fantastic, entertaining show. Make sure you hit follow or subscribe to their show and check them out. Now let's hear from J&K over the Fuck My Work Life podcast now.
Working can be such a drag, but it's a necessary evil.
What better way to combat the woes of the working world than to commiserate with your fellow man?
I'm Jay.
And I'm Kay.
And we're the hosts of Fuck My Work Life, a comedy podcast where we share people's stories from the workplace.
Whether they're funny, weird, scary, or just plain messed up, they're always entertaining and may leave you thinking you don't have it so bad after all.
Available on all major podcast platforms. Give us a listen. Your sanity may just depend on it.
And this new comedy follows 4 Chinese-American friends as they bond and discover the truth of what it means to know and love who they are, while they travel through China in search of one of their birth mothers in the new comedy Joyride.
You guys must be new to town, right?
New to town, but not new to the country. We just moved from California.
Oh, we just wondered if you wouldn't mind if your daughter played with our daughter.
Audrey, say hi.
You want to play slide?
Mm-hmm.
Slides off limits to ching-chongs. Fuck you. Do you want to be best friends?
Look at me, look at me, look at me now. Guess who's going back to the motherland?
It's a big deal, going to your birth country.
We used to talk about it all the time when we were little, remember? Grand adventure to find your birth mother.
So proud of you.
Y'all calling me crazy.
Be my translator in Beijing.
Audrey, I got you. 你四个句吧，四个大句小句随便你。
Cat lives there now.
Your famous college roommate.
You ready to lose to a celebrity?
Deadeye's coming, by the way.
Deadeye, your cousin?
Hey, Audrey.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Deadeye.
Where did that come from? You know, I think I get it.
I called the adoption agency, and she lives in Haiching.
Okay, will you guys come with me? I love a grand adventure. Oh, hi. So nice to see an American. What do you do for work?
It's the cops are doing a bag check.
Oh my God, you're a drug dealer?
You're drug dealers now, bitches! What the fuck? Is that a condom? We can't get caught with drugs in China. We'll get jailed for life. Crazy, gotta move crazy.
I should never come to China. People are always thinking that I have this perfect life. I don't belong anywhere.
If you do not know where you come from, how do you know who you are?
We could still find her. Our passports are in my suitcase that got stolen.
You know who can bypass airport security? K-pop stars. Everyone remember their names?
Sassy.
Cutie.
Lisa.
Lisa, too.
I don't believe these girls are singers.
Girls, show them.
What are we supposed to show?
You're a fan of Cardi B, right?
Yeah. Is she here?
There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this.
Hey, honey, you good? Did you get the Coke bags out? Yeah, but only 7, and I think I put in 8.
Just push, pull. I mean, twist it.
It's not a puppet, it's my asshole!
Now, Gandhi holds a record for most extras in one movie. The Bond film Spectre holds a record for the largest movie stunt explosion in a single movie. Guardians of the Galaxy also held the record for the biggest on-screen body count. Then we have Transformers Dark of the Moon holds the record for the most car wrecks. And I predict that Joyride will hold the record for the most times the use of the word pussy will be used in a single film. Now, when it comes to comedic film pet peeves, mine is the use of vulgarity to attempt to save a joke that the writers are not sure if it will be funny or not. So they throw in some vulgar words for the cast to say with confidence to ensure it will at least be a backup plan if the joke falls flat. But in Joyride, the joke surrounds the word pussy quite often, from storing drugs in pussy to taboo tattoos on pussy to massage devices being used on pussy with massage guns and basketballs, to a K-pop song about pussy that is actually quite catchy, to even a camera shot from inside looking out of one's pussy. Joyride does the exact opposite of what I usually find annoying to some comedies with the use of language, and it ensures the vulgarity pushes the joke past the boundaries instead of using it as a backup plan. I was reminded of this strategy with the style of Trey Parker and Matt Stone when it comes to their films. The only thing that separates this style is the fact that Joyride adds a certain level and balance of heart to the mix. And at times, the heart can feel a little recycled and generic, but by the end of the movie, it still shoots for a feel-good time and has laughs until the last final moments. The style felt familiar, and to no surprise comes from the writing talents of those that have pushed the boundaries of primetime TV comedy. Cherry Chavat from Family Guy and The Orville. And then we have Teresa Seo, also from Family Guy, American Dad, and Fresh Off the Boat. We also have a writing credit for the story from Adele Lim from Life Unexpected, Las Vegas, Lethal Weapon, Raya and the Last Dragon, and of course, Crazy Rich Asians. This writing team is balanced and built for success when it comes to building a proper comedy vehicle. And to really create a visual of funny and to drive this comedy home, we have Adele Lim, who also directs. She comes across as the North Star to this screenplay to really ensure the execution of the comedic timing is there. And this is her directorial debut, and even though with flaws of embracing the environment and setting at times, her eye to complement the cast comedic timing is on point, and she is wildly successful in creating memorable moments. And what makes these memorable moments isn't just the situations our main characters are put in, but rather how well written the contrast is between all the characters. Each one has a uniqueness that naturally contradicts the other. We have our main character Audrey, played by Ashley Park, who drives the story as a lawyer that wants to make partner in her law firm. Audrey was adopted and moved to the United States by an American couple who befriends Kat, played by Stephanie Sue. Kat is an underachiever that really plays as Audrey's polar opposite best friend. These two on the surface as kids are brought together by culture and grew together by encouraging each other and defending each other from the outside stereotypes. And this film doesn't shy away from those stereotypes, they make it up front and center. Now, Audrey needs to travel to Asia where she needs to close a deal with some rich clients so she can make partner in her firm. And this is where we start to see some great comedic genius, is where Audrey and Kat both bring along a friend that matches their own persona. Kat brings her eccentric cousin who people call Deadeye, played by Sabrina Wu, and Audrey brings her now famous actress college friend Lolo, played by Sherry Cola. By adding these two unique comedic characters, it ups the ante that we've gotten from comedy films past, that we've seen before of characters that just contribute on a road trip journey, or a road trip journey that just has generic characters that just kind of really blend together. They don't complement each other, they're just kind of there to just go with the situational comedy. There's even been road trip movies that just have a handful of characters that just seem to all act the same. Joyride puts a buffet of characters with all different comedic traits to really keep the movie feeling fresh, engaging, and funny. We have 2 against 2 personas along with 2 best friends that know each other so well, with the addition of 2 outsiders that have to learn about each other along the way. This is a formula that makes Joyride a truly genuine funny travel comedy to follow along with. It adds a sense of unpredictability even though the situations are predictable. The reactions from our characters are not. This is comedic writing at its best, and something we haven't seen in a long while. Joyride keeps the audience guessing, not necessarily on what's going to happen. We know this generic plot, and we know these generic situations, and we know it's all going to work out in the end. But what makes it stand on its own is that we actually do care about the characters. The characters are interesting. We care about what the characters are going to do next, or how they're going to react to these situations. The writers make this apparent that the situations they put their characters in isn't the point, but rather how the group handles the situations. And the result just about every time ends up with an unpredictable belly laugh. Now, Joyride does have its flaws, and it comes to predictability of the plot and outcome. The audience and viewer can call what's going to happen next at almost every turn of the situations, and this is where the writers really do have to rely heavily on the characters to drive this comedy, but this is one of their strongest points of the character direction, not the story. And this is where the writers really do have to rely heavily on the characters to drive this comedy. But as I got into the third act, I got a little annoyed at the predictability of the story and the generic outcomes. But I came to realize, and I had to remind myself, with all the road trip comedies, what more can I expect that will be a surprise to me? What more can a road trip comedy deliver? It's not really about the why of the trip or what happens during the trip, but really what the characters do to react to the situations and how the characters really mesh together. And this is where the movie self-realizes and goes for the South Park feel of character contrast, not necessarily shock factor, even though the movie is packed with a lot of shock factor elements. And it absolutely balances perfectly, and it works. In a time where studios are cautiously tiptoeing around topics, content, language, subject matter, and canceled culture, Joyride doubles down and tackles these topics head on. Joyride brings up a lot of stereotypes. It's like they bring it up and then they just leave the room and have everybody else debate about it. But Joyride proves if you go all in with self-realization, confidence, and humor, nobody will want to touch it. Joyride reminded me of South Park's Bigger, Longer, and Uncut and Team America World Police, where it addresses topics and subject matter head on, and really pushes the boundaries with humor and self-realization to the point nobody really can say much, but rather go to a movie to do what it's intended to do, which is just make you laugh. Joyride is an offensive, nasty, vulgar road trip comedy that is full of self-aware stereotypes and language that will most likely have some walk out of the theater. But by the time they start to reach for the door, the spark of tremendous heart it uses to pull the viewer back is cleverly placed. This may not be for everyone when it comes to the vulgarness and stereotypes it addresses, and it's a movie you might not want to take your grandmother to, depending on who your grandmother is, but this is a movie that I say loosen up and just have a good time with. Because at the end of the day, even though this story is a generically straightforward premise, the movie takes risks, and the risk is definitely a reward by the time the credits roll. I'm giving Joyride 3 stars. The Lamberts go deeper into the further than ever before to put their demons at rest once and for all in the 5th installment to the Insidious franchise in Insidious, The Red Door.
Are you ready?
We're ready to forget the further, once and for all. My brain just been foggy past few years. All I ever wanted was to be a good dad. Dalton. Mom. Renee.
Did you ever try and get help?
Nah, I'm just trying to push through.
What
don't you drive Dalton to college? You still have a few weeks before your students show up, right? Just an idea to reconnect. I know it's been tough with you too.
The balance of light and dark is what we're after.
You're in the art school, I take it?
Yeah. You go here too?
Yes.
Draw an experience that defines you.
When I was 10, I was in a coma. But I don't even remember being sick.
Sink deep into your memory and let's see what light can find.
I'm seeing crazy stuff. I think these drawings could be clues from my past.
There's so much you don't know. And I was too scared to tell you the truth.
Our family has been keeping secrets. They suppressed our memories, but I can still feel something following us.
There's only one way to find out.
I feel like I'm getting closer to something. Or something's getting closer to me.
When you awaken the dead, the further you travel, the riskier your journey will become.
Now I have to say that the studios have now really officially milked this franchise completely dry to the point the next one is just going to be the main character sitting at a kitchen table, drinking coffee and talking about their weekend in the dark. The next installments could be called Insidious Dim Kitchen or Insidious Dark Roast. I usually joke that franchises that run out of ideas usually put the characters in ridiculous situations, like ending up in space. This is a sequel that really needed something interesting to happen, or just something to happen. This would have been a much more interesting movie if the Lamberts actually ended up in space. This go around, the Lamberts are in the somewhat distant future where we have Dalton Lambert, played by Ty Simpkins, at the time of his life where he finds himself a freshman in college, and Father Josh Lambert, with Patrick Wilson reprising his role, feels distance from his son Dalton and his wife Renee, played by Rose Byrne. Dalton and Josh seem to have grown apart. Along with the distance is some bitterness from Dalton to his father, and this is due to the part that the fact they both have been hypnotized to forget about the memories of their traumatic past they both have experienced, which seems to have led to lost memories together as well. Now the film has some elements that can lead to some truly memorable moments and scenes. Father and son with memory loss separated by distance as a subtle sign of seclusion, and a looming presence that creeps back into their lives. But the problem we have is that it utilizes none of these elements to bring anything scary or even interesting to the table. This is a directorial debut of Patrick Wilson, who is also our main character. It also brings back writer Leigh Whannell. With Insidious The Red Door, you can tell that Whannell was running out of ideas with this one because he adds another writer that Whannell hasn't had since Insidious 2, where he added James Wan to help pen the script. This go around, he adds Scott Teems, in which I don't know how much help he was in this film, since he's responsible for 2021's Halloween Kills, the awful Firestarter remake, and that's the extent of his writing credits. And it shows that Whannell is running out of ideas, and Scott Teems isn't seasoned enough to really support in a fifth installment of a franchise to really add anything interesting or something of value. And we know this because based on Teems' resume and his previous two movies that are just forgettable generic add-ons to already created material. Teems didn't add anything fresh to the Halloween franchise, and he definitely didn't add anything to the god-awful remake of Firestarter. So why was this writer a choice for the fifth installment that was already getting exhausted? This is one of those quick cash grabs at a horror movie for the summer that's rated PG-13 to gain a wider branch of audiences. Now, Patrick Wilson does have some great use of color and style in his director's seat. Wilson takes a lot of his shots and he really slows it down. And this does look good if it was a different movie. But what Wilson truly doesn't understand is that there is a really thin plot line here, and there isn't a lot of interesting things that happen. And the use of more interactive shots and the use of sound and editing could have really been a useful tool here to gain a partial sense of artificial action or horror. Going into the last 15-20 minutes, I almost was thinking I wouldn't have minded a little bit of just jump out scares, some artificial scares. Something just really needs to happen. And even though the movie looks good, the movie severely lacks in technical aspects to truly suck the viewer in and gain credibility to not only what it's trying to sell the viewer, but have us care about the characters. I began to take the side of Dalton, where I really didn't care about what happened to these characters because the dialogue and scenes between each and every character is so bland it plays like an after-school special from the 80s. The film banks on the character development from the previous movies and treats the audience like it's already earned a nostalgic feeling for its characters when it really hasn't. The film franchise has taken a pretty decent gap with these characters and fails to understand it has to almost remind or start from square one with these characters to earn a sense of commitment, especially since we are to buy into the fact that Dalton and Josh Lambert have lost their memory. In all honesty, besides the first movie, I join them. I have lost my memory too, and I wish the film took the time to build this chemistry back up. The movie suffers from assuming the audience already knows all the information and we're religiously watching the previous movies over and over again, and it insults us with the razor-thin plot, a horrible utilization of technical aspects including sound and editing, and tries to pass us off as a scary movie, but rather a student-made fan film of the Insidious franchise. Insidious: The Red Door is proof that the Insidious franchise is officially dead in terms of horror creativity and most importantly fun and entertainment value. This was an absolute chore to get through. The movie feels like it's just struggling to find anything of substance to piece together a plot, and it spends most of the runtime trying to do so, that it never really finds a point to its existence. The only thing that holds some sort of interest together is the look and style of the movie and intrigue that something is bound to happen, but it never truly does. It's not entertaining, nor fun, and it will be forgotten the minute you step out of the theater. I'm giving Insidious: The Red Door 1.5 stars. It gets so hard to keep track and even have time to read all the trending topics on the web. Now there's a new app to help with all of those problems. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin. You can even follow Kardashian. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you out loud. And guess what? They have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. The Movie Wire is now a featured podcast on the Newsly app. Download and use Newsly for free now. The link will be in the description of this episode. You can also use one of my promo codes that you will find in the description as well to get you a 1-month free premium subscription. Stop scrolling, start listening, download Newsly today. A shy adolescent teen learns that she comes from a fabled royal family of legendary sea krakens, and that her destiny lies in the depths of the waters, which is much bigger than she could have ever imagined. In the new DreamWorks animated tale, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken.
The ocean is a mysterious world. Humans know more about the surface of Mars than the floor of the ocean. And the sea creatures who live there, well, even the ones you have imagined, you've imagined them wrong. Take the mighty giant Kraken, bloodthirsty monster, sinker of ships. Where are you even getting this? Krakens are majestic creatures and noble protectors.
I'm just Ruby Gillman, normal teenager.
For generations, Krakens have protected the seas, keeping us safe from the most power-hungry and dangerous creature of all.
The mermaid?
Yes, the mermaid!
But people love mermaids.
I love you so much! Love you too, Rando!
Of course they do. People are stupid.
I'm Chelsea.
Mermaids are selfish, vain narcissists.
I am gorgeous.
Yes, queen!
The worst of them all.
What's happening? Excuse me.
Hey, are you okay? I know your secret. You're a Kraken hiding as a human.
I really gotta go.
Oh no.
And soon, everyone will know the truth. Cushions.
Are you ready for your destiny?
I just want to live my life.
You have powers beyond your imagination. This is your moment, Ruby.
I'm not gonna hide anymore.
Grand
Mama.
Yes.
I want you to teach me how to use my powers.
Camouflage, super speed, body armor. Let's see what you're capable of.
I have laser eyes?
Yes, they do pack a wallop.
Whoa.
You're just a dumb teenager.
I'm a flippin' mermaid! Knock, knock!
No matter what the challenge, a Kraken will always answer the call.
It's time to go big.
Now, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken gets a lot of bonus points here for originality when it comes to the use of imagination and creativity. Now, just a couple weeks ago, I reviewed Disney Pixar's Elemental, where I gave it a rave review. But when it comes to the subject matter and appeal to kids, it came up a little short. The attraction seems to be targeted towards preteen to adults when it comes to the overall feel of Elemental. Now, when it comes to Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, the title does give a hint of what the movie was targeted for, but then the marketing and style comes across a little different. After walking out of Teenage Kraken, I began to reflect on family or animated movies that have come out in the last few years, and I began to really analyze if studios are really reaching to an extent where they're trying to appease a wider branch of viewers, from kids to adults, to the point where we lose that animated magic that sparks the imagination of our kids. Now, a lot of us tend to think to ourselves that kids seem to be acting more and more like adults as each generation progresses. Now, of course, this has numerous reasons on why. We have 100 to 1,000 different reasons on why that is, and I'm not going to cover each and every one of them. This is a movie show, and in no way are movies the reason to point the finger at that. But let's look at the content that seems to be evolving, that adds more things for teens and adults to enjoy in kids' movies, and with little kids being part of that viewing experience, they're bound to pick up a lot of these additions that we really didn't get from the 70s to early 2000s children movies. We have added adult humor, adult themes, adult inside jokes, etc., versus having animated movies that just focused on the character's story and creating a cinematic environment for kids to really expand their minds and fall in love with the movie that a lot of us still love to this day. We also have to look at the animated look of CGI that rarely at times shows a level of uniqueness to its characters, like we saw with the detail in old-fashioned hand-drawn animation. Whereas now animated movies, even though they have their own uniqueness to its colorful beauty, the computer-animated characters by themselves never really stand out. If we look back to the early stages of computer animation, those are the characters that we really remember. But as more and more of these animated movies come out, we have more to compare it to, and we start to lose that originality to all of the characters. They all tend to almost blend together with the same sort of style. We lack that uniqueness of animation and story that really is targeted to our kids, not only for an introduction to the movies, and we almost lose that trait to really tap in and create a world for our children that is targeted just for them. And of course, adults can love animated movies, but these special animated movies are to create that experience for children, to really introduce them to a cinematic experience. I'm sure my parents weren't excited taking me to Disney's Fox and the Hound 5 times in the theater, but they did it for the experience and for me to experience something that I love. Now we get to movies like Elemental and now DreamWorks' Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, both have a wider range target other than just for kids. As Disney Pixar's Elemental was a great movie, I caution parents that it might be too long without enough to entertain smaller kids. Where we had Elemental shortfalls when it comes to engagement and entertainment value for all ages, this is where Ruby Gillman succeeds. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, even though looks exactly like another generically produced DreamWorks animated film, adds something that speaks to the audience universally. And that's pure fast-paced family entertainment. But where Teenage Kraken has its shortfalls is where Elemental succeeds, such as true emotion and heart. Teenage Kraken sets the film up with conflicts that, in theory, should have a relatable emotion and heart, and the potential emotion and heart does crescendo through the movie, whereas us viewers think it's going to really land that heartfelt climax, but it rushes itself and it ends up falling flat. Now, what the film truly does well, and it's a forte in this movie, which is having the fun element right from the get-go. The film is a ball of energy that is contagious, and it self-realizes this from the character's colors to even its biggest strength, the music and musical score. Now, the actual lyrical music is cleverly picked, except for the climax, and I will get into that in just a second. The lyrical music, it's fun, it's bright, it's engaging, it matches our character's energy on screen. Then when it comes to the musical composition, it is hands down the best I have seen from a DreamWorks animated film, especially when it comes to the supporting music to really blend in with the story and the characters. And this is thanks to composer Stephanie Economou from films like The Equalizer 2, The Meg, and the more recent comedy About My Father. And after this film, I can forgive her on that project. Music with or without lyrics are an important piece of an animated film, especially for young kids to really create that environment of wonder. And Teenage Kraken is the best in years when it comes to an animated film to really knock it out of the ballpark when it comes to its music. Now, Teenage Kraken follows Ruby, a young Kraken who lives on the surface, with her parents Agatha, voiced by Toni Collette, and Arthur, voiced by Coleman Domingo, along with her brother Sam, voiced by Blue Chapman. The Gillman family lives on the surface because of a family secret they have kept from Ruby. And this is where the film doesn't really make it clear. Ruby is a Kraken that lives on land, and she has obvious Kraken features, such as gills that she has to cover up, blue skin, ears that look like seashells, and the reason she is blue, the film decides to make the joke the reason being is that she's Canadian. Ruby is forced to hide her features from her classmates and friends, but she doesn't realize that she is a Kraken until later in the movie, when she grows giant and grows tentacles. Then she pieces it together that, hey, I think I might be a sea creature. Now, the film could have done a way better job with a better explanation or attention to detail here. Maybe following the example of Disney's Red, where we have a human character, and then we have a creature transformation throughout the movie. Now, let's look past that for a second. The film's first half, if you take out the logics from an animated film, the movie's fun. I found it hard not to smile ear to ear. It gives examples of teenage anxiety when it comes to social media, the nerves of prom and finding a date to prom, going against your parents. These are all relatable things that even as adults we can relate to since we have all been there. It even addresses the living in our parents' shadows or questioning the decisions we make as parents during these teenage years. While these may be more engaging for teens and adults, what Teenage Kraken does really well is cater to a wide, vast audience. It gives the kids something new and original to look at when it comes to story and visual characteristics. And at the same time, it makes it familiar from films like The Little Mermaid to really piece together for kids what's going on. Writers Pam Brady from South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Team America, World Police, and the more recent The Bubble, alongside their first major motion picture are writers Brian C. Brown and Elliot DeGuspe. They do a fantastic job making the situations relatable by the dialogue being simplistic for younger kids. The movie was directed by Kirk D'Amico and Farron Pearl, who do a fantastic job as well when it comes to having the audience keep their eye on the screen. When it comes to the well-balanced editing and pacing, the film never seems dull or boring, except of course when we get to the climax. Speaking of the climax, let's get into that. This is where I felt a bit of disappointment. As we get into the last 20 minutes, the film starts to lose its footing and really starts to rush itself to an extent where it feels like it's missing another 15 to 30 minutes, where we don't feel an earned emotional reaction. The characters are just thrown around to attempt to put a bow on the film, and as we get into the pivotal fight scene at the end, the film even loses its style and brilliant music execution. The tone is completely off from the rest of the movie, and the music just doesn't fit what we see on screen. It almost feels backwards, where Elemental should have been a half hour shorter and Teenage Kraken should have been a half hour longer. As I sat in the theater that was extremely full, with a lot of kids may I add, I can tell that the film was a mission accomplished by the fact that not one child made a sound, not one child got up during the movie, and we hear adults and children alike say, "I like that movie," right when the credits rolled. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken is an innocent, family-friendly, entertaining film. During most of the movie, it was hard not to smile or enjoy myself. It succeeds with knowing its audience and utilizing energy, music, and the characters that are extremely likable. Teenage Kraken does have its flaws of plot holes and a climax that is very disappointing and stale, but compared to a lot of family movies that have trouble balancing who they want to please between the ages of 5 to adulthood, this is one of the better examples of how to do it, so the whole family can enjoy. I'm giving Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, 3 stars. And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. Until next week, do me a favor, make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film, and support your local movie theaters.
A verdict has been made on this episode of The Movie Wire by your host, Justin Henson. He thanks you for listening to the show. You can follow Justin on Instagram and Twitter at Movie Wire Show or visit his website, www.themoviewire.com. Oh, and don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we will see you at the movies.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.